One of the things that makes the original Dark Souls hold up so well is that it requires less motor skill than Bloodborne and Elden Ring and Sekiro. It's still a hard game, and it requires a skill of a certain sort, but it's also a lot slower paced than later Souls games, which means there's a lot less emphasis on split-second timings outside of certain exceptional bosses, like Manus of the Abyss. Instead, you rely a lot more on your shield, which is less about timing a particular button press, and more about managing your stamina and making sure you have enough left to take the next one or two blows from the enemy. And I also find that you have to think about your positioning a little bit more in Dark Souls than in some of the other Souls games. So like Smo and Ornstein, that's probably my favorite fight in Dark Souls. It's probably also the most well-loved by the community. And learning that fight is all about realizing that you can just run away from these guys forever. You just need to kind of kite them around the arena and wait for an opening and just take one or two shots, don't get greedy, and keep kiting. Another one of my favorite fights is the two bell gargoyles at the top of the Undead Parish, and there's a very similar story there as to Smo and Ornstein. For a new player, their first time fighting the bell gargoyles, this is really hard. This is like a test of whether you can take on Dark Souls at all. But the difficulty is almost entirely just about understanding what kind of strategy and plan you have to adopt if you're going to take on two enemies at once. You need to realize that you can simply run away from the gargoyles forever. You can just kite them around the arena. And you want to wait until one of them gets locked in the fire-breathing attack animation to give you a little bit of breathing room so you can take on the other without getting ganked. And if you can learn to just be calm, be patient, kite these bosses, and wait for your time to strike, it might take you 2, 3, 4 minutes, but you'll be fine. You'll beat them, easy peasy. And that's really how most of the difficulty works in OG Dark Souls. Like I said earlier, it's less about using motor skill and reflex and more about just understanding how the game works. And once you understand how the game works, it's actually kind of easy, which is not to say that it becomes boring, because the only reason it's easy is because you're so good at managing your understanding and keeping track of the 3 or 4 factors that you have to attend to win a fight. So you still have to concentrate. It's just the game becomes really easy to read, and so it becomes really easy to succeed, because reading a fight is like the whole battle in Dark Souls. And I believe that this is why Dark Souls holds up so well. Even though FromSoft has been iterating on the formula over and over again, making great games, I love every game in the Souls series, but somehow Dark Souls doesn't go out of date from a gameplay perspective. But that's because later games in the Souls series move to a more fast-paced combat style where reading and understanding the battlefield really isn't going to get you very far, at least not once you get to the mid-game. Once you get to the mid-game, surviving a battle is all about having great reflexes, timing your dodge rolls, memorizing enemy attack patterns, and committing your responses to muscle memory. And so as a result, if you take a game like Elden Ring, which I have played for literally hundreds of hours, and which I love, don't get me wrong, but whenever I reach Lane Dell in a playthrough, the bosses start to crush me unless I use summons, or a cheesy build. And there's a challenge that never really goes away, because even when you understand exactly how to approach a fight, that's only half the battle. You also have to train your reflexes into a little combat routine, almost like you're learning a dance. Whereas in the original Dark Souls, the general idea there is understanding what you have to do will normally be enough to carry you through the whole fight. And to me, this is the main reason why the gameplay of Dark Souls holds up so well, and why it'll never go out of style. It's an action game where the battle seems to be entirely in your head, in your understanding and your knowledge, and that is freaking awesome. But anyways, that's all I got to say about this topic today. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing. All of those actions tell the algorithm that you like this content, and it's the main thing that causes it to recommend it to others too. So it helps my channel to grow. As always, my name's Chumpy. Thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you next time.